वेलकम बैक लिसनर्स, वेलकम बैक टू रेडियो जिंदगी ऑन 1550 AM। मैं हूं आपके साथ ईरा। शो लेके आए हैं गुड मॉर्निंग जिंदगी, जिसमें अब शुरू होता है द शाह पीराली लॉ शो। यस लिसनर्स, वंस अगेन वी आर जॉइंड बाय अटॉर्नी शाह पीराली, हु इज द फाउंडर, president and managing attorney of the Shah Peerally Law Group, which is headquartered right here in Newark, California. Attorney Shah Peerally is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services, and he has a strong interest in and also the knowledge of the political and the legal system here in the US. उनका जो लॉ ग्रुप है उन्होंने फॉर्म किया इसीलिए ताकि वो और उनकी टीम काम कर सके ऑन दोज कॉजेज जिनके बारे में उनको बहुत स्ट्रांगली फील होता है. His law group focuses on immigration law with an emphasis on employment-based immigration, खास करके employment-based immigration. लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि family petitions और family cases जो होते हैं उनमें उनकी मदद नहीं की जा सकती. If you have a case, definitely get in touch with Attorney Shah Peerally and his team. They have clients all over the US. Offices यहाँ East Coast में, West Coast में, East Coast में दोनों जगह है. न्यूयॉर्क में, सैन फ्रांसिस्को में, वॉशिंगटन DC में. So you can make an appointment and get in touch with them. The number to call is 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. And the website is peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. So let's get started. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like to speak to Attorney Shah Peerally about right now, अभी अगर आप उनसे कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं तो आप फोन कर सकते हैं हमें स्टूडियो नंबर पे. Our call lines are open right now. Call us on 510-770-1550. That's 510-770-1550. Let's get started. Attorney Shah, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope you're doing well and all the listeners are doing well. And thank you so much for the nice welcome. And today, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. Mm-hmm. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out 510-742-5887. I hope you can hear me clearly, Ara.
I can hear you well, yes.
Yes. So anything specific you want to ask, or should I just jump in and talk? I wanted to talk a little bit about consular processing because this is something that is very relevant right now. Anything on your side?
No, definitely. We could start talking about the topics that you have in store for us today. And if there's a call, I will let you know. Once again, now, listeners, the call lines are open. We have Attorney Shah Peerally for 20 minutes right now on the studio number on the show. You can call us on 510-770-1550. कोई भी सवाल आप पूछ सकते हैं जब तक वो इमिग्रेशन के बारे में है, चाहे वो आपका पर्सनल है या फिर कोई एम्प्लॉयमेंट वाला केस है आपका. आप हमें अभी फोन कर सकते हैं 510-770-1550 पर. अटॉर्नी शाह, लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड.
Indeed, today we're going to discuss a little bit about consular processing because this is something a lot of people are calling me about and they are really confused because, for one, a lot of situations where people are trying to get an appointment, it's taking a long time. Yes, it is taking a long time, and because most cases, people are not getting an appointment until the first week of January, or even after, and most of the time, the drop box, amazingly, the drop box is taking longer time than the interview. So we're going to talk a little bit. First of all, before I start, what is a consular processing? Consular processing means you have to go to the U.S. consulate to get a stamping on your passport. Mm-hmm. The stamping role is to bring you to the airport. Once you get to the airport, an officer determines if they want to let you in. And once they let you in, they give you what we call an I-94 usually. And that I-94 is what controls your stay in the United States. That's your status. And once you enter, the visa and the passport has no real value inside the U.S. It's only when you travel that you have to have this. Having said that, now the question is, what is going on at the U.S. Embassy in India? For one, we have the COVID, which is still there, by the way. And two, we had this backlog with all the lockdowns, the shelter, whatever you want to call it in the past. And also a lot of backlog is happening because people used to go to third-party countries, like they would go to Canada, go to Mexico sometimes for some visas, or even go to the Bahamas or Jamaica for stamping. But most of them are closed. And just a footnote there, some people told me they got an appointment at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico. You have to be very careful because the U.S. Embassy in Mexico, especially for H-1B, is not really happening if you're not a dissident or a national of Mexico or someone who has residence there. So you don't want to reach a situation, and I heard that what happened is that they're getting an appointment, and then 2-3 weeks before the appointment happens, the cases are getting canceled. So be very careful if you're getting an appointment in Mexico for H-1B stamping. It might not be, I should say, quote-unquote real. It might be a mistake because as far as I know, they are not doing H-1B stamping. I might be wrong because once in a while in certain emergency situations they might do it, but don't count on it too much. So don't try to go there just to get the stamping. So avoid that. As for Canada, I heard if you're not a PR of Canada, permanent resident, or a citizen of Canada, it's taking almost 2 years to get an appointment. So if you're from India, the best bet is India itself. And what this did, it's put so much pressure on the U.S. Embassy in India with having almost another maybe 50, 100,000 cases more. That has really kind of slowed down the whole system there. And that's why you're seeing people going for stamping is having to book something like 6 months in advance. So be very, very careful. When do you really need to go for stamping is usually when you lost status, right? For example, let's say you got terminated at your job and you reach 60 days. Within the 60 days, you can do an H-1B transfer, for example. Let's take the H-1B as an example. However, once you pass the 60 days, if you file for an H-1B, the H-1B will automatically be converted to what we call consular processing. And that means you have to go to the U.S. Embassy, get a stamping, and come back. Now, for those who already have a stamping on their passport, even if it's from company A, you can still use it unless it was revoked, right? So revocation can happen in many instances. For example, if you have a criminal issue, for example, if you have DUI, etc., you will get an email from the U.S. Embassy stating that we have revoked your visa stamp on your passport. And what it does is that you cannot travel. Revoking the visa stamp on your passport doesn't cut off your status. I repeat that. So your I-94 is not cut off, but your visa is gone. So you cannot use that. There's also another situation where a visa can be automatically revoked by operation of law. For example, if you have a B1, B2 visa, the visitor visa, and you travel to the United States and you overstayed, or you file an extension and the extension is denied for whatever reason, you automatically kind of lose that stamping on your passport. Okay, I think the rule is under INA 245J, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be wrong on the section of law on that, but the law is there. So be very, very careful if you had a visitor visa previously and you ultimately didn't overstayed or basically got a denial, it will automatically cut off that visa on your passport. So before you decide to extend your stay, talk to an attorney. You can call us. We can actually assess your case before you make any move. So call us 510-742-5887 if you have any questions. And of course, right now the radio lines are open, and I will give you the number. And you can also call us if you have a quick call. The show is not long, so we don't take many callers, but we'll try to take a few if we are able to do that. Right, Ara?
Absolutely. Listeners, we'll try and squeeze in as many calls as we can. So if you have a question, you can call us in. While Attorney Shah was talking, we had a caller on hold, but looks like that call got dropped. So listener, if you are still there, if you would still like to ask a question, call us right back. Call us on the same number, 510 510-770-1550. That's 510-770-1550. And listeners, if you'd like to have a private discussion with Attorney Shah about your case, आप फोन कर सकते हैं उनके ऑफिस नंबर पे to make an appointment for a private discussion. उनके ऑफिस का नंबर है 510-742-5887. 510 area code 742-5887, and the website is peerallylaw.com. PEERALLYLAW.com. You have ally in your name. What else can one prove to tell that you are the ally, you are the friend we can go to when we need some immigration help? We know when because immigration is something we are all so extremely concerned about. You cannot have any paperwork which is missing. You can't have any document which is incorrect. You have to have everything just in place. There's no risking it. Right, Attorney Shah? I think that's what majorly we're concerned about. That is what is overwhelming also, to get everything right.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. And I never really paid attention to the ally part. That's nice of you.
Really?
So,
don't tell me. I'm sorry. We have to talk about this right now. You've never been told.
No, nobody has brought this up, though.
Wow, this is surprising.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I can hear you. I mean, it's the first thing you notice. Okay. This is surprising. All right. Well, yes, I am the inventor of this thing.
So you copyrighted that, so that's great. So we should keep it for you.
Awesome.
So yes, indeed, I am an ally when it comes to those cases, because more and more people. It used to be like it was just a bunch of forms, and it's still a bunch of forms. But right now, the problem is people make mistakes that they're not silly mistakes, by the way. I don't think there are any silly mistakes. It's just a matter of trying to do something which is convoluted. The whole thing, the whole system is said to be a little bit complicated. And one little mistake will cost you. For example, I just gave that example of someone having a visitor visa. They overstayed, for example, by 1 day. And then automatically the stamp on their passport get canceled. And if you don't know about this, I spoke to someone who already got in the plane, and that person was stopped in Abu Dhabi, and she couldn't make it up to here. So, especially for parents who come, be very careful. If you want your parents to stay longer, you're filing an extension. I think talk to a lawyer before you make that move. Unless it's necessary, I don't recommend doing it, because we have two problems. Number one, you can lose that visa. Actually, three problems. Number two, right now, if you apply for a visitor visa at the U.S. Embassy in India, it won't happen. I don't even think they're entertaining it until the end of this year. And third, the time, even if they entertain it, the timing to get an interview is long. So don't take a chance on your multiple entry visitor visa, because that can really cost you at the U.S. Embassy. And just to let people know that with immigration, we are dealing with usually two departments. One is the Department of Homeland Security, which is the inside department that caters to most of the cases inside. But when you go to the U.S. Embassy, it's no longer the Department of Homeland Security. It's the Department of State, which is a totally different ballgame, sometimes different rules. So things that are approved here by the Department of Homeland Security might not be approved there. And I won't say vice versa, because most of the time the Department of State is a lot more strict. So you do things properly. You don't make any mistakes on the paperwork. You don't have for an interview. Make sure you also have all your documents ready, and make sure you don't lie. Very, very important. Don't lie. So all this is important when you're doing this case. I mean, when you're doing your own case, or if you're hiring an attorney who is doing it. Can you hear me properly, Ira? Because I couldn't hear you.
I can hear you properly. Just in between, probably, you were getting a call or something, and I kind of lost you for a few seconds on and off. I have a question from a listener. They want to ask, suppose someone gets L1A visa, but they travel to US on B1. Okay. And, it says if she gets married and her husband applies for a green card, will that be prioritized? Can she go back to India for a few more months and travel back to US after the green card application is processed?
The answer is yes and no. You can travel and come back on the L1A, but if you have an adjustment of status pending, until you get an advance parole, what they call the AP, don't travel. Because traveling without an advance parole can represent an abandonment of the adjustment of status, which means you kind of abandon the green card. Although people get confused how the system works, they think it's just an abandonment of the advance parole. The advance parole is a tool to protect the adjustment of status. While you can travel on the L1A and come back, I don't recommend traveling while the case adjustment of status is pending unless you have an advance parole. So if you're getting confused with the situation, give us a call. We'll be glad to assess it in more details. But I don't recommend traveling until you get an advance parole. And then when you come back on the advance parole, you're not on the L1A, you're not on the B1, you're in what we call a period of authorized stay by the Attorney General. So these are two different things. When you come back on a visa, you get a status. When you come back on an advance parole, it's not really a status. It's a period of authorized stay. It has different implications, although a period of authorized stay gives you the kind of the same rights as someone with a status, but it excuse me, it also takes some other rights, like, for example, changing status. For example, if you come on an advance parole, you won't be able to shift to another status unless you leave and do a consular processing and come back. So be very, very careful of that. Don't think because you come on an advance parole, you can just use directly your H-1B. You are not supposed to do that. You're supposed to use what we call the EAD, the Employment Authorization Document, which is the work permit. So all those small things can really cost you if you don't do it properly. So that's one of the reasons to hire a good lawyer to help you, because simple mistake, I've seen people losing everything just on simple mistakes. You will be amazed how many people just think that they read forums and they know what's happening. They don't, because forums are good to give some examples, but don't rely on forums to get the law. It's not like I'm saying that because you have to talk to a lawyer, because even lawyers sometimes we don't know all the law, but a good lawyer who understands the whole immigration system is very important, because oftentimes I have to merge different laws in one case. So, for example, we're talking about someone out of status is a different section of law. Someone in a period of authorized stay is a different section of law. Someone in a deferred action is a different section of law. If you don't know all those three, you won't be able to advise the client. So it's very, very important that you talk to someone with experience and who have dealt with pretty much all the complicated situations. I always say that it's not only about knowing the trade, it has also the tricks of the trade, and it's very important to know all those. And that's why we're here, to help you on those. And again, if you need help, give us a call, 510-742-5887. Yes, Sarah.
Well, also, I hope that answered that listener's question. Listeners, if you also have any questions, you can call us right away. We have 5 more minutes to go, so right now is the best time to speak to Attorney Shah Peerally. If you have any questions for now, any immigration-related question, employment-based or a personal family petition, anything at all, call us on 510-770-1550, and the number to reach Attorney Shah, the office number is 510-742-5887. The website is peerallylaw.com. So, Attorney Shah, I remember the last time we were also talking about the H4 Ead petition that you have. Like every time, I think we just can never talk enough about this. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Are you able to hear me, Attorney Shah? Hello, Attorney Shah, can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Oh, there we are.
I lost you for a minute.
I have been able to hear you all right. I think
today
we have some connection issues, clearly network issues. All right. So I was saying we always talk about the H4 Ead petition that you have. And do we want to remind our listeners? Because I feel that is one topic that we can never talk about enough. How much ever we talk, how much ever we discuss.
Yeah, we have to keep pushing it, because More and more, I'm getting a lot of issues because of family issues. A lot of people who are on H4 are being penalized, right? Because once they get into a divorce, oftentimes they are on their own and they need time to really kind of get their things together. Already you're going through the stress of a divorce, and if you're an H4 visa holder, unless you have been physically abused, there's not many options for you. And that's what we're fighting for. We're trying to change the law to give some kind of protection to those people who just got through those hard times, at least a temporary one until they get back on their feet. And this is a sad part because there's no provision of the law to protect someone who's going through a divorce if they are an H4 visa holder, especially if they've been emotionally abused. We don't have anything like VAWA or anything to protect them. So one of the things we have is at least a work permit, but it doesn't give them a status, and which is the EAD for H4 abuse cases. But this doesn't give you a status. That means it doesn't keep you legal here. All it gives you a work permit. Very counterintuitive, very unproductive sometimes, but it helps a little bit too on financial part, but it doesn't help in the status. So many times you will see people will have to move on a student visa and then ultimately then try to apply for the visa based on the work permit, the EAD based on the abuse, and combining the two in order to make things happen. And that should not be the case. We should have one thing that protects them both sides, almost like a TPS, a temporary protected status. And that's what we've been fighting for, and we are hoping that at least the government is hearing us and ultimately will give something to the H4 EAD. And I'm calling on organizations and everybody who wants to help to at least change this law. It takes time, by the way, to bring this up, but we're not going to give up. We keep pushing, and I think our petition online, which is on change.org, and you type my name, Shah Peerally, it's there. Sign it. We already have reached almost 800 signatures. We need at least 5,000-6,000 signatures to bring this up, so please help us on this.
Absolutely. So listeners, when you go on change.org, you can put in Attorney Shah Peerally's name. It's also on, you can also go on my Facebook page, RJ Ira ka jo Facebook page hai, it's pinned right on top. So, sign the petition, spread it around, share it with your friends and family, ask them to sign it and also spread it like Attorney Shah said, we would need a substantial number of signatures for this to be taken further. So if nothing, at least spread the word. Attorney Shah, within the last minute of our show, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you all for listening to the show. It's been a while now. We have the show. I think we just celebrated our 12th year anniversary. So keep listening to Radio Zindagi, and we'll be back next week, same time. And I wish you all the best. And also, one important thing, remember, if you don't make any mistakes on your case, and if you're planning to travel to India for whatever reason, you are on a visa, talk to your attorney, because things are getting very complicated there. You don't want to be stuck there. Feel free to reach out, 510-742-5887. Anything I'm telling you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Again, 510-742-5887. YouTube channel, I update things as much as I can there. YouTube.com/Shah Peerally Law, like my first name, last name, LAW. Please check it, and then I wish you all the best. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, Attorney Shah. Thank you very much for being here with us. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. You stay tuned to Radio